UCF Ultimate Catfighting. Good morning, welcome, and get ready for this UCF Watch or Pass predictions video. While we are going to be predicting some of these fights, the main purpose of this video is to get everyone back up to speed on what the hell is going on this weekend. We have a fight card that is entirely on UFC Fight Pass if you pay for that, and you better believe I'm dumb enough to pay for that. But if you're in the same boat that I am, in that you're just now kind of coming back to a conscious reality after the drunken stupor that UFC 311 threw you into, if watching Moicano get choked out just required you to finish your drink, if watching Jiri enter the Matrix had you doing push-ups on the floor in front of your friends, this is probably the show for you. So let's get started. Right off the bat, Hamdi Abdelwahab versus Jamal Pogues at heavyweight is the sort of fight that they used to hold at the circus in the Freak Show. And that's a very insulting thing to say, but we have a 5-0 professional record on this side of Hamdi, and Jamal Pogues is 11-4. So Jamal is looking a little bit more like a legitimate athlete if it wasn't for the bedhead that he has decided is his hairstyle. I'm not making a prediction on this one. This fight should suck, but I'm still going to watch it because one of them should get tired and then get knocked out. Moving up. Bogdan Grad looks a lot like Bogdan Guskov's son, but no relation as far as I'm aware. He's fighting Lucas Alexander. This is a featherweight bout. You can find me watching a featherweight bout pretty much every time it happens. Neither one of these guys are names. Neither one of these guys have done anything. If what I'm seeing right now on the UFC stats page is correct, they're alleging that Bogdan is 1-1, which can't be true. So we're going to learn more about who Bogdan is on Saturday night, and I'm not doing any research prior to. Lucas by knockout. Okay, finally, here we go. Jasmine Jasadavius versus Moira Bueno Silva. Jasmine's coming off a win over in UFC Edmonton. Moira, I believe, is coming off of a loss. Let me double check that quick, because I could be making that up. Yeah, she's coming off of a loss to Chasson. She's actually coming off of two losses back-to-back. Jasmine has been working her way up this women's flyweight division. She puts it all together. She mixes her martial arts. She doesn't have any one part of her game that really stands out. But, hey, as a fellow Canadian, a fellow Leaf, I'm rooting for Jasmine in this one. Jasmine by 3-round unanimous decision. Moving up. This is a little bit of a better fight. Farasiam is a dangerous striker. Mike Davis is a little bit more of a wild, explosive striker. These guys both physically, like frame-wise, their height and width, they don't seem like lightweights, considering that they're both taller than most welterweights. But that's kind of the intrigue of this matchup. You have two lanky dudes who are going to be fighting at distance and at range. Farasiam, I believe, is going to have better submissions. Mike Davis is going to have better wrestling. Whoever is going to try to engage in that grappling is the first guy to get tagged. I have a feeling that it's going to be Farasiam taking this one, and there ain't much more than a feeling on that. But Ziam is mean, and Mike Davis is just very explosive. And yeah, that's my read on this, is that Faras is going to have to get mean. Moving up. Oh, boy. T-Rex Terrence McKinney. Oh, God. If there was ever a glass cannon in the UFC, almost knocking out Drew Dober in the first 10 seconds of their fight and then hilariously getting flatline KO'd in the last seconds of round number 1. Terrence McKinney is all over the place. He's down starting out these prelims, which are all on Fight Pass. So there are technically only Fight Pass prelims on Saturday. He's taking on Damir Hadzovic, who's like a middle-of-the-road, like hard-nosed grappler puncher who throws a kick every now and then. This is Terrence's fight to lose. Terrence McKinney also has really good wrestling that he just never uses because, oh man, my analogy is this. The tiger beetle can run so fast that it has to stop and check where it is after it's just like sprinted because its movement is too fast for its own eyes to track. That's how Terrence McKinney fights. He ends up in situations where he has to pause and go, wait, where am I? After he's like exploded punching at the enemy, leaving his chin in the air. And, you know, maybe half to a third of the time he has sparked the other guy because that's just incredible speed. And that's a real possibility here that he could just spark Demir. But I think if Terrence works in the wrestling and turns that incredible speed into unstoppable ground and pound, he could be a real danger. Is he going to do that? Probably not, but I don't think Hadzovic is fast enough to catch Terrence. Could be wrong, but I think Terrence will probably get this one by knockout. Moving up, Abdul Karim Al-Sawaldi versus Bolaji Oki. The UFC is attacking my potential for a speech impediment with these names. No, just kidding. Sorry, I'm an English speaker. They are hard. These are both unknowns to me. This is a lightweight bout. 15-4 versus 9-2. This is telling me that Oki is the newer guy on the rise. And if I had to guess age-wise, because for whatever reason they don't list ages on our little stat thing here on the UFC, I'm gonna have to jump out somewhere else to get the ages. But I'm gonna guess that you're the older fighter, Mr. Abdul, and you're the younger fighter, and I'm gonna guess you've been knocked out, and I'm gonna guess you have not been knocked out. I'm gonna be picking Oki, and I'm okay leaving it that simple. Going up. Oh God. You know, that first heavyweight bout of the night is sad in the fact that the UFC is putting on that fight, that it's like two tubsters without names, but at least they're the very first prelim. Shamil Gaziev has had a main event where he got just completely obliterated. And since then, he's come back and won a fight. He's 13-1. He's only ever lost one fight in the UFC. On paper, Shamil is technically, he's a prospected heavyweight, which is upsetting to say out loud, because watching this man on his walkout is upsetting to watch. He jiggles so much. He jiggles in the ways that no athlete should ever jiggle. If you're a dude going out for like the 5K fun run, you should not jiggle like Shamil Gaziev. And yet he does. And I'm going to be forced to watch. And Thomas Peterson, undersized for heavyweight, short arms, a 74-inch reach is like my reach, dude. And I'm not 6'1". I don't know how this goes well for Thomas Peterson. I think he's going to be forced to sit in the smelly center of Shamil's chest while Shamil sits in mount and tries to do ground and pound. I hate this. I'm probably going to go for a pee break. Shamil by TKO. Oh, thank God. We're out of the prelims. We're on to the main card. We have Muhammad Naimov versus Khan Offley. I don't know much about Khan. I'll be real with you. Maybe I should. But I've seen Naimov fight before. He's limited, but he takes things seriously. He's strong. He has decent grappling. He's from Tajikistan. And I do not bet against our Central Asian warriors. So I'm going to go in Muhammad Naimov by 3-round decision after Olfi gets tired trying to wrestle back. Before that, this is a good matchup. So now we're getting into fights that I actually kind of give a shit about. Ikram Aliskerov, his last fight was a late replacement fight against Robert Whittaker. I forget who even pulled out of that fight that Ikram got thrown in. Oh, maybe it was the first time Rob was supposed to fight Chimaev. Ikram came in and Rob saw openings and knocked him out in the first round with that brutal uppercut. Ikram, you know, it was tough. He got he got fraud checked. He was shown, number one, you can knock him out. And number two, his striking defense is wide open. If you're going to throw stuff from outside of his sight of view, like his line of vision, so looping punches, uppercuts, sneaky high kicks, he was not seeing them coming. Now that's less of a threat from Andre Muniz, who is best known for breaking Jacare's arm at the end of Jacare's career. Muniz is dangerous off of his back, but as is so often the case, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu players just have not been able to catch up to the Dagestani wrestlers in terms of the MMA rule set, because when you can get punched in the face, it's just a lot harder to sit and guard and work on that special move that only you know. Muniz is a hard-nosed fighter, though. At range, he does have good punches and good kicks, but these guys are both really defensively not sound and very easy to hit. I think Ikram is going to be hungry to get the win back. This team that he comes from, they are winning focused, and they're going to be focused on getting him a win. I think it's hard to pick Muniz in this one. He has paths to victory. It's not going to be insane if he wins this fight, but I do expect Ikram to get this one. And probably by a safe 3-round decision that gets boring in round number 3, because, like I said, he's going to be focused on winning, not looking good. Before that, we have Said Nurmagomedov versus Again, they're attacking my poor speaking skills. Vinicius Oliveira. Man, bantamweight is so good too. The real journey of an MMA fan is to be excited for the heavyweight title fights when you first start watching and you don't know any better. And then as you continue to watch this sport, you start to say, like, oh man, 135 pounds. These guys actually hit the fucking gym. These guys know what road work is. These guys have seen a jump rope before. This fight's going to be really good. Said is a Nurmagomedov, but he's an on-the-feet striking type of Nurmagomedov. Vinicius Oliveira is a very dangerous striker coming out of Brazil. I believe he won his first couple of fights in the UFC by knockout. Nurmagomedov probably standing at a power disadvantage, but potentially a skill advantage. He's very defensively sound. Oliveira is dangerous, though, very dangerous, and I'm leaning towards the Brazilian in this matchup. When the Dagestanis don't just focus on the power wrestling, if you will, the wrestle towards ground and pound or Darce choke, it's just not as effective, and he's not doing what Shara does, So I'm picking Vinicius in this one. And again, another fight I'm going to be quite excited to see. Moving up. Oh boy. I was just talking shit about heavyweights, and I will talk shit about Jairzinho Rozenstruik, since his most impressive win was against the aforementioned enormously chubby Shamil. But he's facing a very dangerous opponent in Sergey Pavlovich. Jairzinho Rozenstruik had the same journey as Sergey Pavlovich, which is knocking everybody out on your way to the title, and then it just doesn't work out, and you don't win a title. Rozenstruik's roadblock was Francis Ngannou. Sergey's roadblock was Freudian slip. His roadblock was Tom Aspinall, and both of these guys haven't been doing super well since they ran into that roadblock. They lost their momentum, and that seemed to be a lot of the danger. Sergey's punches were so accurate and so destructive. He still holds the longest streak of knockouts in UFC history. The longest streak of first-round knockouts, which is very, very impressive, right? But as soon as you put a dent in one of these guys' confidence, and that's what was really carrying them, was this belief that I am invincible and I can knock anyone out, it's tough. It's tough because they're not, a guy who believes in his hands like that is going to have a very difficult time accepting that he has to implement wrestling, accepting that he has to learn low kicks, accepting that he has to learn how to move his head out of the way when he wanted to believe he was made of steel. Rozenstruik is less guilty of this. He was always a little bit more of a defensive counterpuncher, but that's got him in trouble so often because he's willing to just wait and not do anything while getting punched or while getting wrestled. Now, Sergey has the right build to be an incredible wrestler. He has this ridiculous 84-inch reach. I think almost the same as John Jones. And that's such a boon. It gives him so much power if he can actually connect. But we've seen him get knocked out. On the flip side, we've seen Rosenstrike get knocked out. This is, in my mind, Rosenstrike's fight to lose. Because if he plays it safe and he plays it smart, he can pull off the same thing that Volkov did against Pavlovich, which is a technical and intelligent counter-punching game against an aggressive, frustrated power puncher. And I could see Rosenstrike winning by second or third round knockout. I don't think he's getting Sergey out in one, but I'm starting to lean that way. Sergey has every chance to surprise me in this, show that he's regained some of that composure and patience. Patience would be a really good thing to see for Sergey early. If he's feinting and waiting to see what Rosenstrike is going to do, that's how he's going to set up a knockout punch. But if he just wades into distance, windmilling punches, you're giving up your reach advantage by fighting in a phone booth. It's not a smart thing to do. I'm thinking probably Rosenstrike by second or third round knockout, and it'll be his most impressive win in the UFC. But like I said, it's his fight to lose. Oh, wow. Did I say Shara before? Shara Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page. What happened to all the good fights last year? Why were there no good fights last year? This fight card kicks ass, okay? I'm going to call this video, UFC Fight Night, should you watch or pass? You should be watching, okay? You can skip the prelims, fair enough. I'm not going to because I'm a psycho, but who doesn't want to see this fight? Michael Venom Page is a very unorthodox striker. He does very well, and if Ian Machado Gary isn't holding him up against the fence or, doing nothing, he's a very dangerous fighter. We already saw what he did to Kevin Holland. On the flip side, Shara Magomedov, the mighty Neanderthal, the dude with one eye. By the way, we're fighting, the fights I should say are in Saudi Arabia, and that's why Shara can fight, because no Western commission is ever going to okay him or give his medical clearance with very obviously one working eye. And yet, with one working eye, Shara was able to achieve, and Editor Francis, if you can, put in the double spinning back fist KO. That's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen on television. Shara is the Nurmagomedov that was made to strike, except he's only a Magomedov. God, I should learn the etymology of these names at some point. Not the point. The point being is that this is a really difficult matchup to predict because Michael Venom Page is dangerous from every angle and he throws unorthodox strikes. He's incredibly fast. He hits hard. But I've seen him get knocked out at 170 pounds. And he's coming up from 170 pounds to fight Shara at 185. This seems like a recipe to get Page knocked out and get Shara the biggest win of his career. I think that's what's going to happen here. And it's kind of insane that I'm saying it because there are some numbers on paper that should really really pump the brakes on that sort of a decision. Michael Venom Page having a 79-inch reach. Again, just to be real quick, so 6'3", 79-inch reach. If we go back to Rosenstrike, just real quick here, 78-inch reach, 6'2". Okay, Michael Venom Page is enormous. He's enormous for welterweight, and he's still pretty big for middleweight. Shara Magomedov, 6'2", 73-inch reach. He's going to have to get close to Page, and he's going to have to take some risks doing that. The upside, though, is that Shara has a good kicking game, which is so interesting, and something that I've been learning more recently as well, just listening to interviews with Umar and Islam coming up to the last fight card, is that these guys all train Taekwondo alongside combat sambo and wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So the head kick knockout that Islam scored against Alexander Volkanovski suddenly makes so much more sense to me that these guys were all training Taekwondo when they were kids along with these other martial arts. So Shara has access to this kicking game that may be able to bridge the gap to get him close enough to Page to touch him with the hands and put him to sleep. I'm thinking Shara gets this done. I think this is Shara by KO. But that could, again, just be the after effects of that drunken stupor UFC 311 put me in. If you can't feel the energy, man, I'm excited for this fight. And then our main event, which this is one of those fights that I look at and I realize I'm kind of stuck in a mindset from 2 or 3 years ago, because Israel Adesanya, to me, is still in the title picture. I can't believe he did not get a rematch against Strickland the first time, but it seemed like Israel didn't want that. And then Strickland lost to Dricus du Plessis. And Israel fought Dricus, and Israel lost again. And he was another one of these guys who seemed superhuman. Outside of fights with like Marvin Vettori or Yoel Romero or any other of his stinker title defenses, like what he did to Paulo Costa, where he made Paulo Costa just look not that good. His first fight against Robert Whittaker, knocking him out. Israel has these sorts of career-defining wins that just give him a different feel when it's an Israel fight card. Now, he's taking on Nassourdine Imavov, the French Dagestani of all things. He's now saying he's Russian. He's no longer French. Sorry, France. If we're just looking at things on paper, Israel has the longer reach. He's the taller man. And he has been working on his grappling. He is able to defend a lot of takedowns, and he's able to counter wrestle while counter punching. The question is, how much has the age affected Israel? How much of these fights and these wars that he's been in affected him and put wear and tear on his body? And how much confidence does he have after losing 2 title fights back to back? Nassourdine Imavov, on the other hand, has been on the come up. And he's been dealing with guys like Jared Cannonier, who were historically divisional boogeymen. He's got a good kicking game. He's got a very composed punching game. And his grappling is top-notch. I don't think he's going to be able to apply the non-stop pressure that both Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis did on Israel Adesanya. And I really don't think he's going to be able to match Adesanya on the feet, skill for skill. So Imavov's route to victory on this one is youth, explosiveness, and just having less miles, less miles on this machine. If he can make this fight dirty, engage in the grappling early to keep Israel guessing as to what he's going to do when he comes forward, because remember, Israel is a counterpuncher. He usually does not come forward. He usually does not push the pace. So Imavov is going to get to choose how these engagements start. And if he makes the right decisions, engages with the grappling early, and mixes in the striking and the grappling, this is a very winnable fight for Imavov. I think Israel's taken his 3rd loss in a row. I think it's tough to say, but I actually am going to be picking Nassourdine Imavov. So I already said it, but I'll say it again. Yes, you should be watching this UFC Fight Night. If you're dumb enough to pay for Fight Pass like I am, obviously you should be. But this is going to be a good fight card. At least as soon as the main card clicks on, you're going to be wanting to be tuned in. And I know I will. So thanks for listening to this UCF predictions and watch or not video, and we'll catch you next time.